Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon or good evening for those of you who might be joining us from a different part of either across Canada or across the world. So thank you so much for joining us for a new kind of campus tour today. My name is Jessica, and I'm going to be your facilitator today. I'm a proud alumni of the Arts and Contemporary Studies program. So for those of you who are joining us for the Faculty of Arts program, or campus tour, this is going to be a great opportunity to hear from not only our student staff, but also have some fellow alumni in the room from our arts program. Now, before I begin, I'd like to share a few Zoom housekeeping tips for those of you who maybe are new to the Zoom platform. In order to ask a question, simply hover your mouse over the bottom of your Zoom window where you'll find a horizontal menu and there'll be a Q&A box. In here, you can ask your question and one of our team members will be able to answer it for you throughout the session. We will also be answering some of our questions live at the end of the session if we still have some time available. If you're experiencing any issues, whether it be audio or visual, please feel free to answer or send a message in our Q&A box, and we'll be able to assist you throughout the presentation to make sure that you are getting the best experience. You can also rearrange your screen any way that works best for you. So if you wanted to change things up, the only thing that will change is your screen. So you don't have to worry about adjusting anyone else's view. Now, as we're going through here today, I really encourage you, as I mentioned, to ask those questions. You have a lot of people here in the room who are going to be answering those for you. So on the next slide, as we move forward, before we begin, I also wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge the land that Ryerson sits on. So to begin today's tour, we will do this land acknowledgement, as I mentioned. So even though we are not currently on Ryerson's campus, it is important to acknowledge the land that this university sits on. So Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabes, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. So now, as we begin throughout this presentation today, you will have our student assistant who will be jumping on here and who's going to be giving you an amazing tour of what it's like on our campus. I know that these are difficult times for all of us, but it's a really important opportunity for you to view our campus and get a chance to see what it's like to learn here at Ryerson. So I will invite Laura now to come on screen to turn her video and her camera on, and she will take it away from here.
Hi, my name is Laura, and I'm in my 4th year of Arts and Contemporary Studies at Ryerson, and I'll be doing the campus tour starting in what you're seeing here, which is Yonge and Dundas Square. This is sort of like the heart of downtown Toronto. There's always a lot of different activities happening here, and it's always a super busy space, and Ryerson's campus is all around this space. So Ryerson students definitely have the opportunity to gain inspiration from their surroundings. So just some examples of that, we have for politics and governance students. Ryerson is really close to City Hall. For geographic analysis students, they can use spatial mapping to discover new trends in population patterns with a lot of data to work with because downtown is so busy. And for language and intercultural relations students, they can work with communities and gain cultural competencies. So this is definitely reflected in our Ryerson campus. We have 146 countries represented at Ryerson and 80 different languages spoken. Ryerson is definitely a reflection of just the downtown as a whole. And a little fun fact about this space is we passed by it earlier, but there's a Cineplex downtown, and Ryerson students actually take classes in the Cineplex. So you're like sitting in a movie theater, watching your lecture on the movie theater screen, which I always thought was pretty fun. But yeah, so for our next stop, we're going to the Nelson Mandela walkway, which just refers to this walkway we have on campus, and it kind of connects a whole string of buildings together, one of which is the building, that would be the walkway that connects all those buildings. And the space that is shown on the tour is the podium building, which is kind of in the middle. So the podium building is a central space on campus that has a lot of different services for students. One of them is the one that you're seeing right now, which is the service hub. The service hub is a one-stop shop for any service needs that any student has. So all types of students can use this, whether you're a current student or a prospective student. Basically how it works is we have like white kiosks set up where students can go up, put in their information and what they have questions about. So for example, if you had questions about like OSAP, you could go there, get matched with an OSAP advisor and have your questions answered. So it's a really great service for students. Also, as you can see, there's a ton of seating. It's really brightly lit and it's a really nice place for studying and also eating. There's a cafeteria just on the other side of it with really great food at student-friendly prices. I really like that cafeteria. But yeah, I think that's it for, oh, and then the student services in this space as well. So there's a lot of different services, one of which is the tri-mentoring program. The tri-mentoring program is a peer-to-peer program for that like matches students, incoming students, like with an upper year student in their same program or faculty. So it basically works as like a buddy system. So if you have like questions about your program or campus or really anything, you kind of have this upper year buddy who has like experience on Ryerson campus. And then once you're an upper year yourself, you have the opportunity to give back and be a mentor. And you can also get connected to industry professionals. The tri-mentoring program also offers group mentorship for traditionally underrepresented groups like women in STEM, mature students, and students with disabilities. Another thing that we have in this space is the Career Center, which is a really great resource for students that's available for them for up to 5 years after they graduate. So students can go to the Career Center to get help with like their resume, cover letter. They even do like mock interviews and help you with job searches. I've never been to the Career Center like myself directly, but I had a course that was taught by the head of the sociology department as well as someone who worked at the Career Center. And it was basically a course that was dedicated to showing art students how to find employment when they graduate. It was an amazing course. I left the course feeling really confident about the program I was in and being able to like market myself when I finished school. So that was a really great opportunity, and I can't even imagine the other services they offer in there, considering I just had contact with one person who worked there. And then lastly, we also have Ryerson Aboriginal Student Services in this space. It's actually in Cur Hall, but that's all connected. So they provide support for prospective Indigenous students and current Indigenous students. Becoming a leader in Indigenous education is part of Ryerson's academic plan. And yeah, so that's this space. So the next stop is the quad. Yeah, so it's that big open space. So the quad is at the heart of Ryerson's campus. It's also the largest green space we have on campus. It's really nice to have kind of an escape from the city right in our campus. A lot of students say that if they're standing like right in the middle, you can't even tell that you're in the city at all. So the space is used a lot for like studying and hanging out, especially now during COVID. I know like a lot of students are using this space to like socially distance and hang out, which is fun. And then, yeah, so the Wi-Fi is extended to all campus grounds. So like I said, you could sit right in the middle of the field and do some homework if you wanted, or just, you know, use your phone, whatever. But yeah, so it's a really great space for that. There's lots of activities that happen here. For instance, like orientation activities. In my first year, all the student groups lined up all around Cur Hall, and we had the opportunity, or the quad, sorry, to like sign up for whatever groups we wanted. There was also a concert there. It was Scott Hellman. I don't know if you know him. Yeah, there's also around the building is, oh yeah, there's some pictures of like orientation and the concerts. And around the building is Cur Hall. Almost all students at Ryerson will have classes in Cur Hall. There's a ton of different faculties within that space. but yeah, it's multi-purpose. So I've had tons of classes there. So as an art student, you could definitely expect to as well. And the next stop is the Center for Urban Innovation. So this is right across the street from where we just were. This is a collaborative research space for problem solving urban infrastructure issues like alternative energy, water and waste management, and urban infrastructure. So there's a lot of different labs in this space for students to use. Some of the labs are data analytic labs, food research labs, laboratory for innovation and transportation, and nutrition discovery labs. But yeah, that space. And the next space is the green roof. So what you're looking at right now is the Ryerson Engineering building, and the green roof is actually on top of that building, like you can see right there. It's pretty cool because on the normal campus tours, we don't get to show students this space, so you're kind of getting a little bit of an exclusive here. So it started as a student-led initiative by food and nutrition students, and it is 1.2 acres of farm on top of this building. And I think the farm produces around 9,000 pounds of produce and 66 pounds of honey, because there are 3 beehives up there as well. And the produce is sold at the Ryerson Farmers Market, which happens on Gold Street. And then also the produce goes back to some of Ryerson's cafeterias and different community members. That is my kitten in the background. He's a little wild. Yeah, and then the next stop is Gold Street.
Sorry, Laura, I will get there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Ryerson?
Sure. So Gold Street was definitely my favorite stop to show to students when we were doing campus tours in person. I love showing off this area because I find there's like a common misconception that Ryerson is just sort of scattered all around downtown Toronto. And this space really gives that like campus vibe that I feel like most students are looking for. It really shows how small Ryerson's campus really is and how, yeah, so you can see like the whole street here. So it's a pedestrian only area. It was actually, they're finishing renovations on it right now. So it does look a bit different than this. It's really nice the way it is now. There's a lot of different events that happen here. Like this, the farmer's market, like I was talking about earlier. There's also Lake Devo, which in the summer is like a reflection pond. And in the winter time turns into a skating rink. There's also the Ryerson bookstore, which you can find in this area too. Right now you can order all your textbooks online, which is really nice. But yeah, the bookstore is great for textbooks and like Ryerson merch. And then other than that, there's always different like activities and events happening in this space. But yeah, yeah, that's the space. The next space is the SLC, so the Sheldon and Tracy Levi Center. The SLC is our 21st century library. It's a space that was built specifically with students in mind, especially commuter students, because Ryerson essentially recognized like a lack of study space on campus. So this building is 8 floors of just pure student study space. There's no classes or anything that happen here. It's just a really great space for studying and doing schoolwork. So it's a space where students can hang out between and after classes. It's also connected to our library building, it's also connected to our library building. And yeah, so there's 8 floors, like I was saying. There's all different themes on the floors. So like one floor is like the sky, for instance, and it has a really great view of Toronto, and every floor is kind of situated for different study styles, I guess. So like this floor, for instance, all the tables are round, so they're meant for like group work, whereas like some floors, most of the tables are like individual and it's like for silent study. There's also floors for like graduate study students. and different things like that. My personal favorite floor is the 4th floor. That's where you could find the garden. So this is where you can access things like tutoring for like math or English. You could go and get your essays edited, check your citations. It's a really great service. Everything is included in your tuition, which is really nice. Most art students have to take like a research statistics course, which I was not prepared for. I'm not good at math at all, and this floor really saved my life during that time. After every lecture I would go, they had like walk-in math tutoring, and I would go stop in and I would talk to someone one-on-one, and they would like go through my assignments with me and make sure that I was like on the right track. It was just a really nice experience. And this is also where you can access academic support, like academic accommodation support. They have that office in here as well. And then other than that, in the SLC, there's always different like events happening. The main floor is kind of like a hub. There's always something like a bake sale. Sometimes the Career Center sets up like resume workshops. There's sometimes like fashion shows in there. So it's a really great space for students. Another thing we have in there is our DME, which is known as the technological library that students can access. So another thing in like the main area of the SLC is there's these big TVs that kind of have like a schedule. And on that schedule, it shows you like different classes and stuff that you could take, or like not classes, but like training programs, I guess, through the DME. So for instance, you could go and get fully certified how to 3D print and trained how to like 3D print. So then you can use all of our 3D printers on campus. They also do things like coding classes and different workshops like that. Which is really cool. Something I've done in the DME is they have therapy dogs, so not really tech related, but they bring dogs up there sometimes, which is really fun and nice. So the next thing we're going to talk about is zone learning. So zone learning is Ryerson's unique initiative for business startups. We have 10 zones. Business incubators, and they're open to all students, not just entrepreneurs. We have 3,500 startups to date, and 40% female members on average. So basically, it's just all these different zones. So they have different, like there's a social venture zone, there's a fashion zone, all different like topics of interest. And if you have an idea for a startup company, you can bring it to them, and you could get it turned into a real company, which is really cool. Some examples of that are Inkbox. It's a really popular temporary tattoo company that actually started in the DMZ at Ryerson, and now they do like the tattoos for the characters on Stranger Things, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there's definitely lots of opportunity within this program that we have. And even if you're not interested in starting your own company, you could get hired to work for someone else's startup, or you could just go and help out and gain like extra experience and skills. So it's a really great program for students. And I think that's it. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. This was an awesome example of what it's like to be on Ryerson's campus. So what we're going to do now is, I know that we have a few minutes left here. We've got about 12 minutes. So I'm actually going to invite Laura to come back on screen for a second here. If you could bring your camera back on. I know I'm throwing you back in there. Also, fun fact, I did love the cat in the background. That was perfect. A great example of what it's like to be at home right now while we're working during this pandemic. Part of the reason why we're on your screen today is because we are trying to limit the spread of COVID-19. So we are working from home. We are on an essential services model, which means that there's only essential services on campus, but some things are open right now, like our SLC, for example, which, as you mentioned, is a great place to study. So Laura, I do have a quick question for you. As a fellow ACSer, we'll go with Arts and Contemporary Studies. Where's your favorite place to study on campus?
My favorite place to study is actually the library building. I feel like it's kind of underrated. Most students will like book out the rooms in the SLC. There's like private study rooms you can book throughout the SLC and the library. The SLC could get pretty like crowded and it's kind of hard to get a room, but I find the library always has spaces available and it's really quiet in there. So I always book out rooms to study in there.
Awesome. I know I actually, when it comes to booking rooms, and would you be able to talk a little bit more about kind of like what that process is and how that's possible as a student? Like, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, sure. And I think they're actually still doing it during COVID now. So students can go online to the SLC website and book a study space. I think they have anywhere from like 2 to 10 like amount. I mean, maybe the numbers are different now, but for students allowed in a room. But there are these really cool rooms that you have that they have in the SLC. It's like floor to ceiling whiteboards. There's a TV, a desk, chairs for students to use. And you just book that online through the SLC website, and I think you can, there's a limit of hours that you can book a room for, but usually it's pretty easy to like stay within that amount of time.
For sure, absolutely. We actually do have another question that came in, and Laura, as we go through with this, feel free if you don't 100% know an answer, that is totally okay, because we have a lot of people in the background who are able to help as well. I'm definitely able to jump in if you don't know any of these answers too. I know this is a little bit live questionnaire is a little scary for some people, so you're doing amazing so far. But I do have a quick question. I'm not sure if you know any of this, but do you know if we have any safety protocols in place, like a buddy system for walking at night regarding like Ryerson security, for example? Do you have any intel on that as a student?
Yeah, for sure. So all around our campus, we have these blue posts that say security on them. And essentially what they are is there's like buttons on them. So if you're ever in a situation on campus where you're feeling unsafe, you can find one of those blue posts. There's tons across campus, and press the button. All of the posts have a 60-second response time. So that means that a security guard will be with you within 60 seconds. However, the minute you press that button, there's a security guard on the phone with you. The light at the top is projecting. It's known that you need help. So that's really reassuring. I like knowing that those are all around campus. But we also have a walk safe program, which is really great. I know so many people that use it. So basically, you can just call our security team at Ryerson and they will send an escort to walk you anywhere on campus. So if you need to go to like your TTC stop, but you're feeling like a little unsafe, you could just have a security guard walk you there. In my first year at residence, I had a friend who wanted to go to McDonald's at 3 a.m. and got a security guard to walk her there and back. So like there are definitely like no silly requests. Like they're super willing to help students out and walk them home. I work till midnight in one of the residence buildings, and I always have a security guard walk me. It's just across the street, but I always have a security guard walk me back home. And it's really nice. They love talking and having good conversations. So
yeah, for sure. That's always a really important part. I know being in the downtown core, sometimes, you know, you think about all the things around you, but we have a lot of supports on our campus. And I know from my personal experience being on campus, I was a student for 5 years, and now I've been working on in this university for 4 years since I graduated. So across my 9 years, I've always felt safe on campus, and it's because of these things that we offer our students. So thanks for touching on all of that. I know that you mentioned that you lived in residence. So what residence building did you live in?
I lived in Pittman Hall.
Awesome. I also lived in Pittman Hall, so that's great. Do you have any fun facts about Pittman Hall, like when you were choosing between, you know, it was whether, now we have the Daphne Cockwell, we also have Pittman, we also have International Living and Learning Center. So do you have any, like, what was your reasoning for kind of choosing Pittman Hall, if you had any?
My reasoning was definitely the apartment style that they had, the option that they had. At the time, only Pittman, Ilk, and O'Keefe House was open, so there wasn't any other apartment styles except for in Pittman Hall. So I chose that one because I thought that would be like the easiest way for me to make friends, just immediately have like 4 to 5 people that you're stuck in a room with. So that's why I chose that option. But now you can choose apartment style at DCC as well. But I definitely think choosing residence just comes down to like personal preference. I don't think there's anything like particularly like better in one building over the other. It's just definitely like what you want to get out of residence. So if you want to have like, you know, a floor to ceiling window, maybe pick DCC. If you want to have that like traditional like residence vibe, pick like Pittman Hall, you know, like it's definitely just up to like what you would feel most like comfortable and at home in.
Awesome. So as an arts student, specifically arts and contemporary studies, when you're on campus, you know, we have things like an arts lab where you can actually go into that lab and print your essay. Like maybe you know, you get to campus and you realize, oh my goodness, I forgot my printed essay at home. What do I do? Of course, we have resources in the library, but we also have an arts lab. As a student, did you take advantage of any of these opportunities that we have within the Faculty of Arts that kind of bring us together as that faculty, as that group of students who are kind of all here for the same reason?
Yeah, so I definitely used to use the art lab all the time. I didn't have a printer my first 2 years of school, so I was in there all the time. But also Arts and Contemporary Studies has a lounge. I think it's actually on the same floor. I would always go in there and study with like my friends from class. But other than that, that's like what I've used, yeah.
For sure. No, but that's a good point because, you know, our campus is not very big in terms of how many students we have on our campus. The campus in general, we like to keep a small footprint, but within the campus, there's a lot of different spaces for our students. They have the opportunity to kind of have an area that's just for them, you know, just like you said with the ACS lounge there, where you can actually have a space for yourself that's just with people who are in your class, a great way to make friends on campus as well too. So it's a great way for you, like I said, make friendships, have some space, and also, you know, get some work done if you needed to. So we're kind of close to the end of the time. We've got about 4 minutes left. So for those of you who are still attending, I do encourage you to continue asking questions. We are still here. Of course, we're answering some live right now, but I do have one final question here for Laura. As a student now, as you mentioned, you're almost done your degree, you know, but some of these students that are joining us today are just beginning their journey. They're beginning it in a very uncertain time right now, and they're doing the first amazing steps of coming onto our virtual campus tour to get a taste of what it's like to be on campus. But do you have any advice for any of these students who are trying to choose a university this year? You know, it's tough to do in regular times, but during something like a pandemic, I'm sure there's a lot more stress involved. So do you have any final words of advice for some of these students who are thinking about joining us here at Ryerson?
I definitely think, especially right now when a lot of you like won't be going onto the physical campus, it's important to like focus on what universities are offering like in terms of like support and like services. A lot of programs will be like the same from university to university. So I think it's definitely like important to focus on like the little differences. So like, for example, at Ryerson, it's the emphasis on experiential learning. Other programs might not have that same emphasis. Same thing with like, you know, academic accommodation support. Like I would definitely look into like those types of things, like things that would just really make your experience a lot more easier, especially during this time. Pick a school that will help you the most. And I feel like Ryerson is definitely like a champion for that. Yeah, just, you know, good luck.
No, that's awesome. That's a great answer. Thank you again. So with the remaining 2 minutes here, I do see a few more questions popping in. So I do encourage everyone to continue asking them for the next couple of minutes. We have a few minutes left. But before we close up, I did want to let you know about our other virtual open house that is coming up in November. So this is actually going to be spanning across 2 weeks, and there's going to be program-specific presentations. So I do hear a lot of questions in the Q&A about specific programs. This is a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about them. So I do encourage you to check our website. It'll be coming up on our ryerson.ca/@home. There'll be a lot of other events that are happening on there too. So I do encourage you to check that out and keep it on your saved tabs if you're thinking about Ryerson, because there will be a lot of stuff coming up in the future. So thank you again for joining us today. I do encourage you, like I said, for the next couple of minutes to continue asking those questions. And we will stay live for a little bit longer. What will happen is I will turn off my camera and my microphone, but like I said, we will remain here. So feel free to keep asking those questions. And on behalf of Ryerson University, thank you again for joining us. And I do hope that all of you are staying safe, including your family and loved ones. Thank you again and have a great rest of your day. Hopefully see you in the next session as well.